Hello and welcome, or welcome back. I'm the Tilted Crown Gourmet. A few years ago, I stumbled upon a recipe for a bacon wrapped meatloaf by Chef Jean Pierre. It's an amazing recipe, however, I felt that I could make it even better. Therefore, today you're going to be getting that recipe. Now, a few suggestions. I'm using Wagu beef as part of my meat mixture. Just FYI, you're going to get a lot more kind of grease because Wagu has a really high fat to meat content. However, it also makes the meatloaf very moist. Also, when you make your glaze, there will be a lot of glaze left over. I recommend that you serve it on the side with your meatloaf. So without further ado, let's get some prep done and let's get cooking. Let's begin by preheating our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 177 degrees centigrade while we prepare our ingredients. Next, in our pan with our olive oil, let's add our diced onions. Allow them to cook until they are soft and slightly caramelized. Then set them aside to cool. We want them to be cool so we don't scramble our eggs later. To our bowl, we're going to be adding our Wagu ground beef. Now, of course, when they say that it's Wagu ground beef, is it really true Wagu? Probably not, because the fat content is so high in real Wagu, it's going to basically kind of shrivel up to nothing, but this is an American Wagu. To that, we're going to add in our veal and our pork. Now, if you cannot get veal or if you don't want to use veal, feel free to just do a pork and beef mixture. And if you don't want to do Wagu, use ground chuck. To your meat, we want to get our eggs, make sure that they're beat, and go ahead and add those in. Earlier, we had sauteed our onions, or caramelized, and we want to add those. Make sure you give them enough time to cool because we don't want to add hot onions in with our meat. We want them to be cool. To that, we want to add our breadcrumbs. Now, with our carrots, you need to make sure that you dice your carrots small. If you use larger carrots, you're going to have to blanch those prior to adding them in. Because they're small, they will cook while the meatloaf is cooking. Some fresh parsley, fresh thyme. We have our Genoa Salami. Again, it's cut into small cubes. I have some Applewood smoked ham, and again, cut into small cubes. Add that. Our garlic, a little hot sauce, Worcestershire. This is coarsely ground black pepper and salt, kosher salt. And last but not least, our buttermilk. Put on your gloves and let's get in here and mix everything. Okay, now we're going to set this aside while we prepare our glaze. Go ahead and put our flame on medium low. To our ketchup, we're going to go ahead and add our brown sugar. Give everything a nice stir. Followed by some Worcestershire sauce. Let's put in a little hot sauce. I have some peach white balsamic. So we're gonna add a little bit of that. We're gonna want this to warm up just so we get our sugar to dissolve. Now that this is warmed up, let's give it a quick taste. That is really, really good. Has a little bit of spice to it, but not too much. And that vinegar really, I believe, helps us set it off. Go ahead and turn it off and let it set while we finish preparing our meatloaf. So let's go ahead and start lining our pan. Standard loaf pan, nothing special, no specialized equipment. You may need to give your bacon just a slight tug because we want this to overlap just ever so slightly on both sides. Now for this side, we don't need super long pieces. So I've cut the bacon in half. I'm gonna layer it in here. Now that we have our pan lined, we want to reintroduce our meatloaf. So we want to make sure that when we pack our meatloaf in here, that it's really packed in tight. We don't want any air bubbles. So we want to make sure that we pack that in really tightly. Now we want to go ahead and start bringing our bacon up and over. A little short sides first. Up and over. Then we want to get our long strips. Bring those up and over. So now that we've done that, I like to get my pan and put it on top of my mold and then flip it over. Make sure everything is nice and tucked. Now we have our glaze, and we want to make sure that we get a lot of glaze on our dish. Now that we have our glaze on, I like to sprinkle it with some coarse black pepper. And we're gonna place this into our oven, which has been preheated to 350 degrees. It's gonna go in there for about an hour. Once our meatloaf has reached 150 degrees Fahrenheit or 65 degrees centigrade, we want to remove it from the oven and remove it from our cooking sheet, placing it onto our cutting board to allow it to rest for approximately 30 minutes prior to cutting. Once 30 minutes has elapsed, carve your amazing meatloaf. Look at the texture and how interesting it looks once it's cut. This is my rendition of Chef Jean Pierre's famous bacon wrapped meatloaf. I hope you give this recipe a try. Let your kitchen continue to be your passport to the world. I'm the Tilted Crown Gourmet. Don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, as always, bon appetit.